For more than half a century, humans have attempted one of the most difficult journeys possible on Earth: the descent to the deepest point in the ocean, the Challenger Deep inside the Mariana Trench. Nearly 7 miles below the surface, this place lies farther from human civilization than the Moon's surface in terms of accessibility. Each expedition that has gone down there has faced crushing pressure, freezing temperatures, and total darkness, yet the explorers who made the descent discovered something far more extraordinary than anyone expected. Instead of an empty abyss, they found a strange, thriving world, and evidence that even the most remote place on Earth has been touched by human activity. The Mariana Trench lies in the western Pacific Ocean, roughly southwest of the island of Guam. It stretches for about 1,580 miles in a long crescent shape across the ocean floor, making it one of the largest geological features on the planet. But what makes it famous is not its length, it is its depth. At its lowest point, known as the Challenger Deep, the trench reaches nearly 36,000 feet, about 11 kilometers, below sea level. To understand how deep that is, imagine placing Mount Everest inside the trench. Even the tallest mountain on Earth would still be more than 2 kilometers underwater. This makes the Mariana Trench the lowest point in Earth's crust and the most extreme environment on the planet. The trench exists because of a slow collision between two massive tectonic plates. On one side is the Pacific Plate, one of the largest pieces of Earth's crust, moving steadily westward. On the other side is the smaller Mariana Plate. When these two plates meet, the Pacific Plate is forced downward beneath the Mariana Plate in a process known as subduction. Because the Pacific Plate in this region is extremely old, around 170 million years old, it is colder and denser than younger crust. That density makes it sink deeper into the mantle, creating the deepest trench on Earth. In a way, the Mariana Trench is a scar formed by millions of years of geological movement, a place where part of Earth's surface is slowly being pulled back into the planet. If a human could somehow travel to the bottom of the trench without protection, the experience would be fatal within seconds. At that depth, the pressure is more than 1,000 times greater than at the surface. It is equal to several tons pressing on every square inch of the body. The temperature stays just above freezing, and sunlight cannot reach anywhere close to the bottom. After about 3,000 feet underwater, all natural light disappears completely, and below that lies permanent darkness. For decades, scientists believed nothing could survive under such conditions. Without sunlight, plants cannot grow, and without plants, most ecosystems collapse. The logical assumption was that the bottom of the trench would be lifeless. The first time humans reached the bottom proved that assumption wrong. On January 23, 1960, U.S. Navy officer Don Walsh and Swiss engineer Jacques Picard descended into the trench in a submersible called the Bathyscaphe Trieste. The craft was primitive by modern standards, a tiny steel sphere attached to a large float filled with gasoline for buoyancy. The descent took nearly 5 hours. As they went deeper, the pressure caused parts of the vessel to crack, and the temperature inside the cabin dropped close to freezing. When they finally reached the bottom, they had only a short time to observe before returning to the surface. During those few minutes, they saw something unexpected moving across the seafloor, small shrimp-like creatures and what looked like a flatfish. At the time, many scientists doubted the report, because life at that depth seemed impossible. For more than 50 years after that dive, no human returned to the Challenger Deep. Technology at the time was too limited, and sending people that far down was expensive and dangerous. Instead, scientists used unmanned vehicles to explore the deep ocean. Cameras and robotic landers confirmed that life did exist in the trenches, but the deepest point itself remained mostly unexplored. That changed in 2012, when filmmaker and explorer James Cameron made a solo dive in the submersible deep-sea Challenger. Cameron became the first person to reach the bottom alone and the first to bring back detailed video and samples. What he found surprised him. Instead of a busy ecosystem, the seafloor looked barren, flat, and covered in fine sediment. Small shrimp-like creatures drifted near the bottom, but there were no large animals in sight. Yet when scientists studied the samples he collected, they discovered dozens of new species of microorganisms living in the mud. Modern exploration continued in 2019 when explorer Victor Vescovo piloted the submersible limiting factor to the bottom multiple times. Unlike earlier missions, these dives were repeated again and again, allowing scientists to study the trench in detail. They found sea cucumbers, amphipods, and strange microbial life forms living in the sediment. But they also found something disturbing: plastic waste. At nearly 11 kilometers below the surface, in one of the most remote places on Earth, explorers saw a plastic bag and candy wrappers on the seafloor. Later tests showed that many animals living in the trench contained microplastics inside their bodies. Pollution from the surface had slowly sunk to the deepest point in the ocean, proving that no part of the planet is completely untouched by human activity. The life that survives in the Mariana Trench is unlike anything found in shallow water. The deepest fish ever recorded, the Mariana snailfish, lives more than 8,000 meters down. Its body is soft and gelatin-like, allowing it to survive the pressure that would crush most fish. Giant amphipods, which look like oversized shrimp, grow much larger than their shallow water relatives. Some species even use aluminum from the seafloor to strengthen their bodies, a biological trick not seen anywhere else. Strange octopuses with ear-like fins, massive single-celled organisms called xenophyophores, and countless types of bacteria live in the darkness, feeding on chemicals instead of sunlight. One of the most surprising discoveries came during recent deep-sea research missions by Chinese scientists using the submersible Fendus. They found entire ecosystems built around chemical reactions in the seafloor. Instead of relying on sunlight, these organisms survive using energy from methane and other chemicals leaking from cracks in the Earth's crust. Colonies of tube worms and clams formed dense communities at depths where scientists once believed life could not exist at all. These chemosynthetic ecosystems suggest that life on Earth may have started in places like this, deep underwater, long before sunlight-based life evolved. Today, the Mariana Trench represents both the mystery of life and the impact of humanity. It shows that life can survive in the most extreme conditions imaginable, in darkness, under crushing pressure, and without sunlight. At the same time, it proves that human influence reaches everywhere, even to the deepest point on the planet. The bottom of the ocean is not empty, and it is not untouched. It is a strange, living world, one that reminds us how little we know about our own planet, and how much of it we have already changed.